Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Got a little bit of news, a little bit of travel news, immigration news for you all today, and gonna play some. Went out for a walk here, third day of GCQ, and gonna play some of that video while I'm going over some of this. Seeing more kids out, even though legally they're not supposed to be out. Seeing more kids out, a lot more cars out. Went to Ayala the other day. There weren't too many people out. Less than half the stores, maybe a third of the stores, seemed to be open. Walked to SM today to get some things that I needed, and still, even though like some of the stores in this place could be open, they are all closed. There's a Do Foam, a kind of a furniture foam place. There's a couple of Vietnamese restaurants in there. There's a spa in there, 7-Eleven in there, but even the 7-Eleven has been closed for the last 2.5 months or so. This is Spionata condominium there. And anyway, I had my visa extended, my tourist visa extended for 6 months. And the way I did that, I called up my friend, my contact at JRC Visa Consultancy, JR, and he picked my passport up and my ACR card because we're going to extend that also. And I wanted to get a 6 month extension on my passport because who knows what's going to happen in the coming months. I could have done it for 2 months or 6 months, and cost me. Here's a breakdown of the fees, and there's second side to this receipt, 4740 there, and it has the breakdown. 7,240 pesos equals about 144 US dollars at 50 pesos to the US dollar. Breaks down to 1,270 pesos per month for 6 months, or about $24 a month. Now, I oftentimes do 2 months, and it comes closer to $30 a month that way. They used to give you stickers like this each time you renewed your passport, and most countries will give you some type of sticker. They ran out of stickers, and for some reason now they just give you the receipt, staple it inside of one of your pages, which kind of makes a mess, but that's the way it is. Here is the visa extension form. Very simple, very easy to fill out. And like I said, I used an agent. He picked it up one evening, delivered it back to me the following evening. Very easy. If your visa has expired while you've been in the Philippines, uh, my understanding is that you will not be allowed to extend it for 6 months. You'll be limited to either 2 or 3 months, something like that. Not sure exactly of the numbers, but um, you will have to. You won't be penalized at this point in time as long as you take care of it during the month of June, up until June 30th. During the month of June is the 30-day grace period. If your whatever your issue is, if you have passed that because the immigration office's travel was restricted, those types of things. We still do not know when the government will allow foreigners to travel back into the Philippines by air or ship or however, and issue them visas. I've asked a number of people, and nobody knows. We called PAL the other day, Philippine Airlines. Um, I also checked with the ferries. Ferry companies pretty much have told us that we don't have any ferries scheduled, and we don't know when we'll be allowed to start running the ferries again. That discussion is ongoing. Um, One of the issues is that the local governments, the LGUs, the local government units, have a lot of say. Um, a ferry might decide to leave from Cebu City to go to Dumaguete, but Dumaguete say, no, we're not going to accept ferries. We're not going to accept airlines flying into our city. So there's that discussion continues to go on. There are many different agencies involved in this. So one day you'll read the news and it sounds like the planes are going to start flying domestically again, and but it's for business purposes, essential purposes only, not for leisure or tourism. And then the next day you read that the flights are not being allowed. One of the agencies says no, stop, you can't fly, or a local government unit says that. So you don't know. We just really don't know yet. I had a friend down in, I think he's in Dumaguete, in fact, and he said that he talked to Coqueleon, which is one of the big, they got some of the bigger ferry boats, and he said that they would sell him a ticket, and they have ferries on certain days coming to Cebu City, but nobody had an answer as whether that person would have to be quarantined for 14 days when they arrived in Cebu City. I suspect there would be a quarantine involved. So, I've had a number of people comment, ask me, they have a 30-day vacation coming up, and they certainly didn't want to spend 14, 15 days of that in quarantine. Another issue is that many of the OFWs, the overseas Filipino workers that have been coming back in the Philippines, have a couple issues. They've been in quarantine for over 14 days because their tests did not come back. Some of them 20, longer than that, days. And then there's some, as they get their negative ratings and that certificate, and then they head off to their home province. When they're allowed to do that, they have to have the approval of that province to travel, and then when there's finally a ferry or a plane to shuttle them there. One particular, it was in the news this morning. Even though he had a negative, these kids asking for money, more kids out. They said, "Hey, I remember you," and I don't remember them, but anyway, gave them a little bit of pocket change. Anyway, this local government was not going to allow the OFW to enter and go back to his home once he arrived there. So he ended up calling the federal government agency, and they kind of hashed that out, I guess. I know a number of you that have said you have flights in June, and I suspect that they're going to be canceled again, and you're going to have to reschedule. Things are not moving as quickly as I thought they would, and I suspect that you're looking at later in July or August, maybe even September, before travel is allowed without having to go through a quarantine. International travel, that is. As far as other transportation, taxis, I've seen in 3 days, I've seen 3 taxis, and they're I'd read that Grab had a number of cars that were going to be available, but I think that's only in Manila, about 2,000 initially, and that's a problem. Most people are still walking. I think they have 190 buses or so in the provinces of Cebu, running the provinces of Cebu, uh, and they don't have any jeepneys for the most part, unless they're dedicated to certain people or something. And coming up on here, coming up on a bus station here. This was did a video earlier, a couple of weeks ago. The buses that were in here, they run down south towards Bareilles, and they had a bunch of buses parked here. People have been locked in there pretty much for a couple of months, and we gave them some food, some money to buy food. One of the subscribers donated some money to them as well, so I did a different video about that. One of the big problems as they're opening up the economy is that there still is little transportation. Manila, there's all kinds of articles in the newspapers and news about so many people. Some people have bought bikes. Some people are hitchhiking. Some people are walking for hours trying to get to work and finally just giving up, going back home. Uh, there is a major lack of transportation for people to get to work, and so people are not going to the malls. They're wanting to open the malls up, and people just don't want to walk there. The distances they have to go. Now, legally, according to the rules under GCQ, which most of the Philippines is under, general community quarantine, there are some places under MGCQ, modified general community quarantine, which is even a little bit looser. More businesses opening up, that type of thing. But anyway, legally, anybody 20 and under is not supposed to be out of their house. Anybody over 60 is not supposed to be out of their house. Now, the exception for the seniors is you're supposed to be allowed to go out for essential goods and services. And look out here if you're. And I've been out walking just very few number of times to get essential goods and services. I do have a quarantine pass for my condo unit, and been asked for it a number of times to get into malls and grocery stores and to pass certain areas going into the IL area, for instance. And the federal government has said passes are no longer necessary, but the local governments can have more restrictive rules, and in this case they do. Mayor Labella and I think even other barangays have said, oh, you need to pass here, you need to pass there, that type of thing. And so it can become confusing. And anyway, would I go to immigration? No, I decided it wasn't worth my time and hassle to go to immigration to extend. So any of you who want to go through that process, like I said, JR at JRC Visa Consultancy. It is so easy. I've had a couple people email me and tell me, hey, I took your advice from another video, called them up, picked my visa up, gave them the money. A day later I get my visa back. Worked slick, no hassle, no stress. These guys got a job.
Baligyan eh?
Oh,
Yes.
They do it. Okay.
Ilang sako?
mas?
Oh,
Nangat. Mas? Singka.
60?
Mas nara deliver.
Ha?
Nara deliver.
Delivery extra?
No, free.
Oh, really? Okay. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
60 pesos? 60 pesos for one of those? All right. These guys have been here for a couple of years or longer than that even. I used to walk this area. I used to live at Persimmon down the street here, and they're doing some infrastructure work here. They aren't, but they're sifting the sand. You'll see a little dump truck come in and dump the sand, and they will do the sifting and sort it into different sizes, and a number of different groups here that do that. Question for those of you who are in the Philippines: are the immigration offices in your area open? I was told that over on Mactan Island, Lapu-Lapu, that the immigration office did not open up at the same time the Mandaue City office did here in the Cebu City metro area, waiting for some kind of certification, something like that. Anyway, one thing that's happening here is that they're limiting people in the stores and the government offices. I think the LTO, the Land Transportation Offices, is opening up here in the next day or so. One good thing that's happening over time is they're trying to make it possible to do some transactions online. Also, the immigration, all the other government offices are trying to, in the future, go to an appointment type basis, so that even in immigration, sometime in the future, I don't know when that'll actually take effect. The note I got from immigration was that they wanted to start going by appointment, But presently, they weren't, while they were trying to set that up, they were accepting walk-in traffic. We're not going to turn anybody away. So keep that in mind. I recommend that you go to the immigration office, the immigration Facebook pages, send them a note asking them of any particular requirements, their hours, that sort of thing. Anyway, just coming up on a condominium called Persimmon, and I lived there for a number of months. Subscriber of mine and rents the unit that I used to rent there. I also, here in the very near future, I will put a video up about some of the rentals. I have friends that have places for rent as well as for sale. Probably next week I'll get that video up. And anyway, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you next time.